Sorry about that. I disconnect the charger and I forget to reconnect the audio. So that's what happened. Anyway, what I was saying, I don't know if you're good at lip reading or not. What I was saying was that we are doing what is called Ananda Mimamsa. And in the Ananda Mimamsa means that the way we look at our happiness in life, joy in life, Ananda, is that we are making some mistakes about it, and as a result of that, we're not sure exactly what we need to do to maintain our sense of joy. It seems to come and go somewhat randomly at times, to a certain extent under our control, but to a large extent not really under our control. And it's frustrating and it's puzzling. I'm not sure it's frustrating, but it is puzzling as to what it is. And so as a result of that, we fall into the worldly ways of achieving a sense of happiness. The worldly ways means that something which the people in this world kind of agree on, more or less. And that means, maintain good health, earn enough money so that you don't have to worry about it, be part of a family and group of friends. Like that, we have a sense of what we need to do, and we either do a better job of it or not do a better job of it, so there is some variations of it. But by and large, if you analyze this, everyone is still searching, and we complete our life searching. We just don't achieve a sense of the reality. And if somebody does, then we may not know how that person achieved it, etc. Anyway, so this is what is called Ananda Mimamsa. So an analysis where it is pointed out that here are the mistakes you are making. Here are the real source of joy. And think about it. Follow our wisdom, the lead of our wisdom. And so this is what we need to do. So here, for example, in the continuation of what we did last week, was that we are all very used to having joy as a result of interaction with some things, good food, good friends. We are used to it. And there are a couple of aspects of it. We don't expect such sukham. Sukham is just another word for ananda, joy, a sense of satisfaction, peace. We don't expect the sukham to last very long. We are aware of that. And so when we eat food and we know that this is going to be exactly what I wanted, your spouse cooks something which is your favorite and you know you're going to enjoy it, and you do. And but you don't expect such a joy, a sense of what is called alam buddhi. What Swami Dayananda used to say, that this is what is called alam buddhi. Alam buddhi means enough, I don't want any more. I'm very happy. So I have had enough dal, enough roti, enough chawal, some dessert with a mango lassi, and your spouse can say, have some more. So you can say, okay, I can have half a more chapati. Then you take another half a more chapati. Then she says, have some more. These are very nicely. Then you say, I'm full. I'm just very happy. This is all I need. This is called alam buddhi. So we know that our sense of joy, of what is called alam buddhi, is short-lived. It is short-lived. It is not, we know that already. It's not as though you're going to be satisfied with not eating anything forever. You know that you're going to go hungry again. So this is one of the aspects of it. Secondly, this is the more damaging part of it. You feel that I am, by my status is that of not being happy, and because of doing the following things, I am now happy. So the following things like ice cream and rasagullas and all the other desserts, you somehow feel they are a source of my joy. My joy comes from there. This is the mistake that we make. It's called Brahma. And so the Shastra says it is really the knowledge behind the experiences that allows you to correct this mistake. It's pretty much like you feel that the sun is rising, and so if you are a 5-year-old child, you don't understand that the sun doesn't rise. It is the earth moving that creates the sense that the sun is rising, and so there is no knowledge behind that experience. So similarly here also, you feel that my partaking ice cream means that the joy is in the ice cream. This is what happens. And so, so oftentimes you have some guests and said, would you like to have some ice cream after the dinner? And they'll say, sure, what kind do you have? Means I have some favorites. And so you say, well, I have chocolate, I have this, and so on. They say, do you have pistachio ice cream? So you look into the refrigerator and you say, I'm sorry, no, we don't have pistachio. I say, oh shucks, that's what I really like. So that means that you're looking for something as though, look at this. Your conclusion when you have this kind of a dialogue, pistachio ice cream, is that, this is especially amongst Indians, we love mango ice cream. I think most Indians just are suckers for mango ice cream. We love mango and we like ice cream anyway, and you combine them, that is the best thing that we can do. So now the question is where to find the best mango ice cream. So somehow you feel that the mango ice cream is full of joy. So if we don't have pistachio, then I am not connected to the joy. I cannot experience the joy. This is exactly like saying that the sun rises, but you think that the sun is rising. You have the experience of the sun rising, but you don't know that the sun doesn't rise even though it appears to rise. So similarly, you don't know that when you eat ice cream, the locus of joy is what called alambanam. In Sanskrit, the word is used, alambanam. The locus is always in you. This is a very, very interesting and a very important thing to think about. That the feeling of joy is always in you. It is not in the ice cream. The ice cream is a nimitta karanam. So that means that even though the sun rises, the sun never rises. Never. It's always there. It is whether you see it or not, that's the only thing that happens. So therefore, I'm just giving you a general feeling for this Ananda, the source of Ananda, is that even though we experience Ananda, but we don't know the real source of Ananda. We don't know where it comes from, so we make a mistake about it. So one other thing that I'll just briefly mention before we go into the explanation of that in the Panchadashi. This is a very interesting, important and interesting idea, a dimension to our thinking. And again, I find that I was very lucky that I had COVID, that I had a chance to study Swami Akhandananda ji's books. And I really found, as I mentioned in the last couple of classes, a new dimension, new ways of looking at things. And sometimes I might give you the feeling that my other acharyas, Swami Chinmayananji, Swami Dayananji, and Swami Maheshananji, didn't tell me this, which can be a first thought. Yeah, I didn't know that. Nobody told me this. They might have told me, but I never really became sensitive to it. So at the right time, you grasped certain aspects of this which you couldn't grasp before. And I must say that in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks when I was ill, reading all these books really gave me certain insights which is additional to what I had before. Remarkable, absolutely remarkable. So let me give you one example of that in the context that we are doing. There are many other things that I want to talk about in the other classes as time goes on, and perhaps in one of these days, I think we should just study some of the books directly. And most of them are in the form of satsangs, question answers. I found the satsangs with Swami Akhandananda ji is the best I have seen out of anyone, including Swami Maheshananji, Swami Dayananji, Swami Chinmayananji, anyone. How well this has been recorded, how insightful the questions were, how relevant they were to you and I, and the answers to them were presented in such a way, marvelous. Really, it was just a revelation. I felt very happy about being sick, honestly, because it really gave me a new insight which otherwise I would have missed it. All arranged by Parameshwara. In my namaskara to Dakshinamurti every morning, I just smile at him and I say, I know what you're doing. I really appreciate how you're bringing new teachers, new texts for me, step by step. You are very, very helpful to me. I'm amazed at your wisdom in adopting me to give you this kind of a thing. Anyway, I'm just going on and on. But anyway, so the one insight that I want to share with you in the context of what we're doing is the following. And Swami Maheshananji also had pointed this out, and perhaps some of the other acharyas. So the example was familiar to me, but the way it was presented by Swami Akhandananda ji, this is what happens. Just the language that you use, the emphasis, the context, the contextual importance of it, it makes a big impression on us. This is what happened in this case. What he said was this. He said, And so he addresses various kinds of people who are listening to him. Many times I find that he is addressing people who have very little concept of Vedanta, but they are great bhaktas. They do a lot of japa and so on. They go to all this pilgrimages and so on. So he has a way of explaining things to them. But he also addresses people like you and I that have had some exposure to Vedanta, but are still struggling. Still struggling in terms of understanding the permanence of joy in our own heart, which is not quite there yet. So he addresses what would be called Vedantins. So this example is for the Vedantins. That's why I'm bringing it out here, because I think we are all Vedantins, more or less. If you have been studying this for a while, then we are Vedantins. We are what would be called Jnanis. We are not Vijnanis, but we are Jnanis. Anyway, what he said was this. He said, you know, when we study Vedanta, somehow we feel that I haven't really reached what I want to do, and I don't know when I will reach that point of really appreciating the Atma and just being one with it, Paramatma, Parameshwara. He says we have this feeling that I am just a normal person. And yes, I'm trying and I'm making some progress and some things are becoming clearer to me, but I have a long ways to go. Okay? So he gave a little bit of an example, which I think Swami Maheshananji and others had given. So let me bring that example in, and then I will summarize this in terms of the language or the tone that Swami Akhandananda ji uses to bring that example as something very real for us. What he said was, the others have said the same thing. Listen, supposing you are very hungry, you are really, this is just something just occurred to me on this point. It's a really wonderful, interesting example. There's a friend of ours that have a couple of children, and one of them, I think now they have grown up, so I'm not sure that I get their ages correct, but I think this girl was like 7 or so when this episode took place. And she had a younger brother who was like 4 or 5. Okay? So they both approached their mom and said, "Mom, is dinner ready? Because we were very hungry." And the boy said, "Yes, Mom, I'm starving." So this 7-year-old sister of this boy said, I forget their names, I can't remember their names, but they said, "No, you are not starving. People who live in very poor countries who have not had food for a couple of days are starving. You are just hungry. You are not starving." So their mother was listening to this dialogue, and she was amazed at the wisdom of what this girl was saying. She said, "My God, I had no idea that my 7-year-old daughter could make a distinction between what is starving and what is hungry. I had no idea." Anyway, I just took a detour of that because it reminded me of this dialogue. She was telling us this about 6 months ago. Anyway, so you are very hungry. Starving or hungry, you are very hungry. Okay? And then the food is served to you. Okay? Food is served to you. Now here's what happens. Do you have the same level of hunger as you start to eat, as you begin to have the food like rice and dal and some sabzi and raita and so on, lassi? So 5 minutes have gone by and you start to now eat all this. At that point, is your level of hunger the same as you were when you started? No. You are still hungry, but you are not as hungry as you were when you started. Right? So what are we saying? What's the implication to this? What it is being said is that your sense of satisfaction gradually builds up as you start to eat. And so you're very hungry at point 0, then you're 100% hungry, then after 3 or 4 minutes you are 90% hungry, then after a while, and it's probably it's an exponential curve, not a linear curve. After 5 minutes, you are 50% hungry, and then pretty soon you are 100%. You're 0% hungry. This is a gradual thing that happens. Okay? If this is the case, consider the case of a Vedantin. So what a Vedantin will do is to say, if somebody asks and say, so you are studying Vedanta? He says, yes, I'm studying Vedanta. From where are you studying? He says, I'm taking some classes, online classes, and I also listen to some other Swamis, and I'm reading some books and so on. So, good. Are you as happy as the Vedanta tells you you will be? No, I'm not yet. So I'm really at this point almost 100% hungry, maybe 3 or 4% less, because there is a certain hope involved that I am doing the right thing, so that kind of calms you down a little bit and so on. But by and large, you are not in touch, you're not absorbed in the Ananda of the Atma yet. 98% of that you are not. You're still very much at the low level. Okay, that's okay. I'm happy you were very honest about that and so on. Then you come back after a year or 2 years later, where you've been studying. And then the same person says, so are you still taking those classes? Are you still as enthused about it? Says, yeah, I'm actually feeling very happy about it. The whole thing is starting to make sense to me and so on and so forth. Okay, then are you now happy? Just like, we just talked about this in the class on, Saturday, I guess, where Brahmaji's son, Kacha, who had come back, and so Brahmaji had said, do you have peace now? So he says, no sir, I don't have happiness yet. Okay, do some tyaga. This is what we were doing in the Nididhyasanam. And so do some more tyaga. So he started to really give up things that he was very attached to, and he thought this would really lead me to peace. And he came back, and his father asked him, are you now have achieved peace? And he said, no sir. But at least he was very honest. He was not deceiving himself. So he was really sincere in asking for some help, and he said, no sir, I am still not happy. So he says, okay, go ahead. So he did that a couple of times, and he had nothing left. He only had his body. He says, the only thing that I have in my possession is my body and mind. So maybe I should try to give that up and then I will find happiness. And so he started to immolate himself. When his father stopped him and he says, "You're just being silly. This is not going to solve your problem." So he says, "Sir, why not? Because then I would give up my body and then this is the ultimate tyaga. So I would just give it up." He says, that's not going to happen. I'll tell you why it's not going to happen. Because you need to express yourself. Why? Because you feel that I am a limited being who still wants to achieve totality. This is the status you are in, right? So he says, "Yes, sir, that's true." Okay, so that means you are a limited being and you need a body to express your limitation and to analyze what's happening. So say, "Yes, sir." So he says, when you give up this body, you think that desire to express yourself through a body will go away? No, it won't, because Ishvara will say your desire is still there. So he's going to, first of all, punish you for unnecessarily committing suicide. So you'll have to go through some real sorrow, but suppose that's taken care of, then he's going to give you another body because that's what you want to do. So through the samskaras, the vasanas, your sense of having bodies will continue. So just by giving up body doesn't mean it's tyaga. He says, "Sir, that makes sense to me. Yes, I understand that. But tell me, what is real tyaga? Then what if ultimately my body is also not mine? So what does tyaga mean?" So he says, "Good. I'm happy you are coming to that point. Sit down and let me explain it to you." So he says that your Brahma, that you are the body, this is the abhimana, deha abhimana. This is what will come here also if we have enough time. I don't know. We haven't even started the main class yet. But this deva abhimana has to be given up because it is a sense of wrong identification. Like you have an identification as a dreamer. The wrong identification. That's what needs to give up. So you need the body to observe and say, "I am not this." For this you need to be alive, not dead. So he says, "Sir, that makes sense. So how do I do that?" He says, "Aha, now you're asking the real thing." So that is the tyaga. It is not the prapancha rupa, but prapancha sattva tyaga. Prapancha satyatva tyaga. The truth of the prapancha means all of the anatma, the one experiences that you see. But to assign a certain truth to it is Brahma, is not Prama. That's what we need to all do. And that can only be done when you are in the waking state, fully alive, healthy, thinking, and through some other things that we will also talk about. All right, so now going back to our original story, we haven't finished that yet. There's much more to be done. So your friend asks you after 2 years, "So you've been studying now and you haven't given up?" He says, No, there's no question of giving up because I think it's starting to really make more and more sense to it and so on. And you can even tell them that my teacher said that I need to learn Sanskrit, because without usage of the fine usage of Sanskrit, so I'm starting some Sanskrit classes. I'm telling you the real life of some of you. So but at any time you say reality, I'm not very happy. Okay, so that means, you know what that means? So here's what it means. Now here's the final thing about this whole story. So unlike your eating, where after 5 minutes the person who served you the food and said, is everything okay? Or do you like my food? And you said, oh, it's delicious. It's really, I'm enjoying it. So you're not as hungry? He says, no, I'm not as hungry now. I'm really enjoying. So you're already from 100% hunger, you've already gone to 50% hunger, right? After 5 minutes. Okay? So there is a curve. So the curve is not like flat zero and all of a sudden 100%. It is some kind of a gradual build up to the lack of hunger, to the loss of hunger, to tripti. What is called tripti means that I am satisfied. Alam buddhi. So there is a gradual. So here in this case, your sense of peace has not moved very much. If you are honest about it. If you tell your friend, actually most of us don't want to tell the truth to them because they will start questioning, then why are you studying anymore? 2 years you've been spending so much, you should be watching movies and latest things from Bollywood and Tollywood and all that. Why are you doing all this? So you tell them, no, I'm feeling better. Inside you feel that I haven't really done much. So this is our situation. So here Swami Akhandananda ji says, what is really necessary? Where the problem is? What is the problem? The problem is that somehow I feel that I continue to live if I can exaggerate and say, a miserable existence in my life for a while, and all of a sudden I will have a revelation and then I will reach. It's not as though I'm doubting the fact that there will be moksha. Because I think the teachers and the sampradaya and so on seems to be very, very sincere. So I don't doubt that. I have shraddha, in other words. I have shraddha. But my sense is that somehow the curve will be flat. All of a sudden I will just reach moksha one day. Swami Akhandananda says, is that realistic? You think that's going to happen like that? No. Not going to happen. You are just being silly. So then, okay, if I am being silly and I accept your advice, so what should I do? What should I be? So this is where I think the manner of, the method of explaining, the manner of emphasizing, the power of his upadesha, of his teaching, all comes to. He said, what you need to do is, as you study, bring in, as when you study means the real study, this is another part that we will have to spend a lot of time on. And I've expressed this in different ways, that really speaking, you have to appreciate the mahima of Parameshwara, the power of Parameshwara. You have to appreciate that, and we don't. We look at it, Sakshi, this is I'm the Sakshi, I'm free. These are just empty words that don't seem to really affect me very much. Okay, I'm that. In fact, you feel even worse. That I'm supposed to be Sakshi, I'm supposed to be free, and I'm not. So there is something wrong with me, I don't know what's going to happen. So the problem with this picture is that you don't really spend time to understand the power of the Atma, the Mahima of the Atma. Parameshwara means your own Atma. Parameshwara is not anything different from what he expresses as your Antaryami. That's what it is. But you have to really trust. Swami Paramarthananda had used a very beautiful word for this. He says, claim it. Claim it. Oh, that word really invokes, it's a beautiful word. Claim your own sense of completeness. And so that word invokes the example that we often use, Swami Dayanandaji and others have also used, that all of a sudden you are given a news that somebody has left with you with $100 million. So you don't have to lead a wretched life of really just going from meal to meal and so on. And at first you have a difficulty in understanding or even believing that that's the case. But you've passed that point. The messenger has become very convincing to you. He's deposited the money in your bank and it says, okay, you want to try it? Just take out $1,000. And you did. And you feel, oh wow, this is really mine. Okay, now here's what happens. It is such a large amount that you don't know what to do with it. I don't know if you heard the story of this. What is it? He was some kind of a driver of some vehicle in Kerala, and he won a lottery for 15 crores. No, 30 crores, out of which he had to pay 15 crores as tax, and the rest of the 15 crores was his. Do you know, I read a report that his life has become totally miserable. Totally miserable. Because you know how it is in India. You have unlimited number of people that would be banging at your door saying, can you please give me a little bit? You've got 15 crores. What are you going to do with all this money? Anyway, going back to our example of claiming it. So you got $100 million in the bank and you know it, but you don't use it. You don't use it. Because you don't know how to get started. Even if you haven't told anyone, there's this lottery winner in there are two people, I guess, in that one that shared $1 billion lottery, so 500 million each. And they are not revealing it to anyone. Very wise. But suppose they just sit on it and never really use it. This is our situation. This is our situation of the Vedantin. That we've been told that you are the very source of happiness that you are seeking. You are seeking $1,000 here or there, you have unlimited amount. Use it, claim it. But we have not tried using it. We don't know, we are shy of claiming it. So there are doubts about it. Where is it? How can it be there? So on and so forth. For whatever reason, there are lots of reasons that I have, but I'm totally convinced, no, I don't want to touch it yet. Because I want to keep on studying all the way. In the end, then it will suddenly dawn on me and then I will reach moksha. Swami Akhandananda says, I'm sorry, it's not just silly, this is stupid. So what to do? The thing to do is slowly bring up the fact in your mind that you are okay. Don't go headlong into a complete abdication of what you have and be a beggar in life. Don't be complete beggar. Anytime something, in fact, this is where our tests of sorrowful things become very important. Because unless we have some problems, we don't know how to test what we have. At any step of the problem, remind yourself, my God, what am I doing being unhappy about this? Start to appreciate slowly, one step at a time. Bring it in your life. And he goes in very strongly in all this. And he says, unless you slowly bring the Atma and Parameshwara, unless you take the help of Ishvara at every step, you'll never discover it. You may not find total joy yet, but you will get partial joy. Are you using at all for this partial joy? No, you're not. You admit that you don't. Use it. The more you turn towards, I've spent, my gosh, it's already 8:45. But this is a very powerful dimension to the study and to the way of leading the life. Anyway, I'll bring it up again in different contexts and so on. So where we were now we can rejoin our last class. So where we were in the last time was that if you recall, we had finished the last class by saying, we had given the example of eating ice cream because you are outwardly focused, your mind was hungry for ice cream. So that means that you are totally focused on the state of your mind. Your state of the mind is that I want ice cream. And so nothing else really mattered to you. I want coffee. That's Swami Chinmayananda used to say. Coffee, coffee, coffee. Where's the nearest place? Where's Starbucks? Where's Pete's Coffee? I want the place. I really want coffee. So coffee, coffee, coffee. Ice cream, ice cream. The bahirmukhata, which gives rise to you're covered with a sense of desire. And then when you do get coffee, you have just the opposite to that, which means you are extremely happy because you had such a strong desire that satisfying that small desire allows you to be totally satisfied. At that time, if you have some other small problems here and there, those problems go into the background. You're enjoying the coffee. See what happens. So this is called antarmukhata, and we saw the process of that you're really enjoying your own self because your mind is now enjoying your fact that the desire has left you. So the desirelessness after drinking the coffee has left you with this total joy. So this was the example we had come to. So there was a question raised. This is where we ended the class. Saying, wait a second, I see some problem in this example. What is the problem? I see that the desire for coffee was creating a sense of disowning myself. I can see that. But what about the fact that I did not have a desire for coffee to begin with? Now, many times you're okay until somebody reminds you, this is what happens. You're just sitting there and somebody says, should we have coffee? Or the same thing on ice cream. Should we have ice cream? Before that, you were not even thinking about it. But once that person says it, you say, yeah, let's have it. From that point on, now you're both searching for the nearest coffee or ice cream place. So here the questioner is saying, what happens to the point, before the point where this desire arose in you and you were not desirous of coffee or ice cream? Why were you not happy at that time? So we partially answered that by saying, so two things are there, as Swami Maheshananji pointed out in this commentary. And one of them we had pointed out last class. You remember what it is? It is, even though you don't have a singular strong example of coffee, the whole life is nothing but a jumble of small desires all mixed up together. So you don't have this big wave of the desire for coffee, but you have this anirvachaniya, which is not very clear, but you have a covering of, kind of like a fog, of various desires going in and out and so on and so forth. We are all full of that in our life. So this is one reason for it. So that means that you don't have a singular desire, but you have lots of jumbled desires. Okay? The second reason is just as important, and that is the jumble of desires coupled with the fact that you don't know that you are the very source of the happiness. You don't know that. None of us knew that. None of us even understand it today. Not, I say none, but some of us do not even understand it today. Until this becomes very clear. This is what the whole Ananda Mimamsa is. So that means you're not even aware of the fact that you at least have an alternative. It's not clear to you because of the disowning and so on and so forth. So there are two reasons why you are not completely happy. You don't know what the reality is, so that you don't even confront the jumble of desires, and you simply go along with making sure that the jumble of desires stays at a low level. And it doesn't really allow you to penetrate the truth about who you are. So that's the reason why this will actually come up again in the further analysis. Hopefully we'll have enough time to do so. Anyway, so that is the reason why so now we answered the objection of the person that how come I was not happy even before I had the desire for ice cream. Okay, so that is done. So then in verse number 46 of Panchadashi, the Shastra gives the example that there are 5 people who are relatively happy in this life. 5 different examples. 5 different, not people, 5 different cases where you seek happiness without knowing it. With the exception of one. So this verse number 46 gives, he says, Shakuni, Shyena, Kumaraha, Mahanripaha, Mahabrahmanaha. Shakuni means a small bird who has been tethered to its cage or tethered to some object in the room. Because Shakuni is a small bird. It's a small bird. And a very beautiful bird, and you just feed it. Looks very nice, and you feed it, but you don't want to have it fly away. And so instead of keeping it in the cage, in fact it's not in the cage, it's in a room so that people can come and look at it and so on, even touch it. But it cannot fly away because it is tied to some object. So what it does is it flies all over the place, and then it says cannot go anymore, then it comes back to the own place where there is some food, and it just is temporarily satisfied. So this temporary satisfaction of the Shakuni is exactly like our Shakuni. We also go around doing different things and so on. And then at night time we rest ourselves. This is where our resting place is, so to speak. And I cannot really fly away from it completely. I can do a few things and so on during the day, and then we all come back to a night. So this is Shakuni. Shyena is a big bird. I don't know what the exact bird names are, but relatively speaking, it's a big bird. And from our house, I can see these Shyenas. They are very interesting people, very interesting animals. In the morning, they start foraging. And they are so clever. They go round and round. They're completely free. They're not tied. They're completely free. And they look for small squirrels or rats to eat, and they've got their vision towards it, and they're flying around. But they're worried about making sure that they get the food, and they swoop down and take away. I've seen a squirrel being taken away by a huge bird. And so they do that. But at the end of the day, they are very tired. They voluntarily come back to their own place on a tree, and they spend the night there. Nobody asks them to do it, but they're tired. Human beings are also like that. They are a little bit better than a Shakuni. They are more like a Shyena, where we also go around and doing this, that, or the other. But at the end of the day, we said, you know what, I just want to sleep. This is Shyena. The third example is Kumaraha. Kumaraha is a child of 5 years or less. And so this Kumara is an example. Why? Because the Raga Dvesha has not come into its life yet. Strong like life, Raga Dvesha. Small ones are there. Our 18-month-old granddaughter, she knows what she likes to eat and what she doesn't. She says, no, I don't like this. She likes mangoes. So my wife actually has made, and so now we don't give her mango until she's had some time to eat. Otherwise, she just says, I just want the mango. So she has some desires. But right now, she is very happy. So here's the thing. A small child less than 5 years old is like an animal because they are also hungry, they also want good food, they want to satisfy. But the sense of who they are has not yet developed. So you can say that a small child will say, I failed. Yes, I failed, I couldn't get this. After 5 years, the failure becomes endemic. I am a failure. I can't do this. And so this is where raga dvesha, the likes and dislikes, become much more. So the Kumara is about the age where so the Kumara means they are generally very happy. They are just going around, just playing toys and so on. There's no worry. They're just wonderful. After that, it is no longer the case. So anyway, that's the third example. Then the fourth example is Mahanripaha. Mahanripaha means a great king who has an army and he or she is the king or the queen of the whole place, he's got power. And similarly, for example, the CEOs and owners of big companies, they are happy, they go around in their private planes. They've got no limitation. They've got these, what is it called, the private doctors. Sometimes we have some friends like that, and we complain to them. We belong to the Palo Alto Medical Clinic, and Palo Alto Medical Clinic, which used to have a very good name, is now overwhelmed by patients. You try to get an appointment. In fact, I wanted an appointment for a dermatologist. For 3 months I've had to wait. Still have not gotten it. And so you talk to some of these people and say, oh, so we have this, what is it called? What's the name of it? Not designer doctor, some name I'm forgetting. They have their own private doctors. You call them up and say, I'm having some stomachache, and say, okay, come. Right away. They pay them lots of money. So this is what is called Mahanripaha. The fifth one is the real one, called Mahabrahmana, who has really understood the mithyatvam of the anatma. This is what Tyagi, the real Tyagi is. And he doesn't have to have anything. Swami Makhandananda ji describes so many people. All these Maharaj, they're all sitting there. He's describing it in great detail about their joy. And if somebody comes to them, fine. If they're not, they're happy, smiling, talk, on their own. They have figured out the whole thing. And these are not just even people who are out there teaching and making a name for themselves. No. They are completely done. They are happy. Mahabrahmana, lots of people like that. We don't know about them. But requires a lot of effort, and sometimes from the previous life. So they became brahmacharis, and anyway, so those are the ones. All right, so that is the examples given of people who. So we have those examples to emulate, that we can be like Shakuni, we can be like Shena. Kumara means, why are we giving the example of a Kumara, 5-year-old? We're giving the example that after that age, our covering of likes and dislikes makes it even more realistic for me to disown myself. So a Kumara, a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old, begins to look upon the world as a source of joy. And the self-estimation is based on your sense of the world. A Kumara and before didn't. They were just happy with themselves. They don't care what the world thinks of them. But after that, we care very much about what the world thinks of me. In fact, this will come a little bit later on. We'll come to that in more detail. Anyway, so that's the Kumara. Mahanripaha means that I am okay for the time being, but I am still very vulnerable. It can really be taken away from me any minute. Then the final example of Mahabrahmana is the one it doesn't, nothing can be taken away. Because the Ananda is the Swarupa of the person. It's not added on. For us, something is added on. But if you understand this is by very nature, you cannot take away the very nature of the person. That's who the person is. Sorry, I'm going to take a Ricola. That's the biggest problem with the Ricola is you don't know how to open it. It is so tightly. Ah. $9.05. Okay. All right, I'm going to skip a couple of things that I was planning to do. I think that we have covered enough. Let's go now to an explanation in the verse in number 87 of the 11th chapter of Panchadashi. So here the author categorizes the Ananda into three. Brahmananda, which is close to understanding in the deep sleep. It is close to the truth in deep sleep. Why isn't it the real Ananda? This we will see later. Because the Ananda of deep sleep appears to be the real Ananda. No. The Ananda in deep sleep, even though very close to it, is what is called Ananda Mayaha. So in Sanskrit, Mayaha, the word Maya, which is a suffix, it's not a prefix, it's a suffix, has two forms. One is called Vikarartha, means the transformation, a form, a change, is called Mayaha. The other one is what is called Prachuryartha. Prachuryartha means the significance of it, its manifoldness of it is primarily that. It may have some other things mixed with it, but it is primarily that. So, Anandamayaha means that it is primarily Ananda but not exclusively Ananda. Why is it not exclusively? Because there is still a self-ignorance in sleep. And so it's a very thin, it's a thin cover, but it is still a cover, thin cover. So this will be taken up, this example will be taken up better as we go along. So the three kinds of Ananda given in verse number 87 is Brahmananda, which is primarily true in deep sleep. The second one is Vasanananda. And I think we may have studied it last time, I'm not sure, but let me mention it anyway. Vasanananda means that the Ananda itself is gone, but the Vasana for it is still there. And you know that the word Vasana applies very much to onions and garlic, as we mentioned last time I think also. That even though the onion is gone, but the smell and the taste of it is still there on your hands. So it's a very interesting thing that the object is gone, but it leaves a wake of some W-A-K-E, a wake of itself in somebody's skin or hands or even the room, table. So what that means is that when you wake up from deep sleep, you don't have deep sleep anymore, but the vasana for deep sleep is still there for a while. This is why when you get up for a while, if you've had good sleep, which is not always the case, but if you had good sleep, then for a while you don't even feel like getting up. Like the alarm has gone off, but you are just sitting there for the state for a while. But you cannot do it for too long. Why? Because all your previous karmas also have vasanas. Because last night you went to sleep and saying, oh my gosh, I better get up and I have to call such and such person. I have to transfer some money. Tomorrow I will do this. So these are all your thoughts that you had before you went to sleep. And so when you wake up for a while, those thoughts are not there. And so you allow yourself to be enjoying the vasana of deep sleep. But pretty soon the vasanas of those thoughts come and bother you and say, hey, by the way, do you know today is Monday morning? You remember what you talked about it last night? Oh, I better get doing. So your vasana for Ananda is diminished. So this is called Vasanananda, where you have some quiet periods. Again, we will do this more detail later on. The third type is what is called Pratibimbananda. Pratibimbananda. Pratibimba means reflection. Reflection. And what is that? So eating ice cream or coffee, drinking coffee is Pratibimbananda. Because it makes you, drinking coffee makes you turn your attention towards your own self and the reflection of your own self in this turned in mind creates Ananda. So in some ways, all Vishayananda, we had used this term before. So we are actually, there's like 9 different kind of Anandas, but the author says these 3 are the main ones. Other ones are all inclusive in it. Brahmananda, Vasanananda, and Pratibimbananda. So all Vishayanandas, all joy that you have from outside are really nothing but a form of Pratibimbananda. Okay, so this completes an initial analysis of Ananda. So what it means is that really there is only one source of Ananda, which is Brahmananda, which is you. But it expresses itself as Vasanananda and Pratibimbananda. So it's not as though the Vasanananda and Pratibimbananda are separate sources of Ananda. See, this is the important thing. It is simply a way of expressing your own Brahmananda. This analysis actually will be given in more detail as we proceed further. And so at this point, I will close the class. And we will start a kind of like a new topic. New topic means we have now spent a lot of time in discussing the source of Ananda as Brahmananda in deep sleep. This is what we were focusing on. So what about the other states like the waking state and the dream state? The Ananda from there or the lack thereof, how is that related to the deep sleep? This is the topic. And this is a huge topic which will go on for a while. And so that we will take up in the next series of classes from Panchadashi. So with that, I pause and close this class. Om Asato ma Sadgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Again, apologies for not having the sound in the beginning. It caused you some problems. So my apologies for that. I'll try to be more careful next time. Anyway, I don't see any questions per se, so happy to see you all in the class, and we will continue this discussion next time.